Hello and welcome to the ArcaKnights wrap-up Q&A of the wonderful story that we have told together. Over a year, we've shared the ArcaKnights with all of you, told this wonderful story, and tonight we'll be answering questions submitted by all of you and discussing the series as a whole and everything that occurred. So, of course, we'll go around, have everybody tell you who they are and who they played before we go into our final playthrough of the intro for ArcaKnights. And we'll start with Brandon.
Hello, everyone. It is I, Brandon O'Brien. I'm a poet, writer, and game designer from Trinidad and Tobago. And I have been and I will always be Marcia Ambrose, the Pink Fae ArcaKnight Ranger.
Alec.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alec, or Alec the Bard, TTRPG content creator, not your real dad. And I have been and will always be Teacher Hence, the Red Dragon ArcaKnight.
Javante.
Howdy, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary pioneers, and hellions of all walks of life. I am Javante, and I have been and will always be Lamont / Dior, the Black Cerberus ArcaKnight.
Hama.
I'm Schrodinger.
That's it.
No, I'm Chris, or Hamasamakun. That's HAMASAMAKUN on all social media platforms. And I was and will hopefully continue to be one day as a cameo, maybe, Schrodinger, the Phantom Ranger, and then the official purple Cheshire ArcaKnight Ranger. I had so many titles. Ruler of all, King of the world,
Morphing
literal
Grid
god,
Jesus.
Morphing Grid Jesus, Morphing Mommy, special little boy.
Paige.
Hey everyone, on Page, aka Pluto Cleric. I have been and will always be Frankie Oliver, the Green Centaur ArcaKnight Ranger, and later on, the Silver Thunderbird ArcaKnight Ranger.
And I have been and will always continue to be your Gridmaster Arc or Arclight Court. Let's go into our final intro of ArcaKnights before we dive into all of our questions.
I don't want to click the button. I don't want to do it.
No,
You
we're just
gotta
gonna sit
do
here.
it.
And I told the octopus, no way.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
You know, as a retelling of Baldur's Gate goes, that one seems pretty concise.
I did what I had to do to save the gate.
So, with
gated.
all of that, we got a bunch of questions submitted from you guys over the course of the last 3 weeks since the final episode, and gathered them together, kind of combined similar ones. We'll start with one that I think was really cool to start with is for everybody. What drew you to your Ranger spectrum? We'll start with Alec.
It was the only one left. Because I am a shit when it comes to communication. And when I messaged the group chat and I was like, hey, I also need to make my Ranger. What's left? And they're like, red. And I was like, All right. And then I became the Red Ranger.
I think I was pretty much like, hey, welcome in. You're the Red Ranger. Congratulations.
Congratulations, you're leading.
Yeah, pretty much. It was like, you're the leader because none of us
Yeah.
wanted to do
Nice
it.
to meet you. You're
Just
our leader.
like Jason.
Yep. That's honestly the honest answer. It's because it was the only one left when we were making characters.
Hell yeah. Brandon, what drew you to your Ranger spectrum?
Pink just kind of immediately spoke to me. Like, when I was reading the rule book, like it kind of just immediately congealed in my brain that I wanted to play a certain kind of character, and that was somebody who wasn't very good at melee combat. But in terms of all of the like other characteristics that I wanted to lean in for my character, I wanted to pick somebody who was not local, and somebody who was very nosy. And I'm not even sure if that second part really shone through, but like I really wanted to pick someone whose big deal was I don't trust anybody, so I'm gonna spy on everyone.
It kind of worked out in a different way. It became more of like a maternal, like, you're doing bad things. Why are you doing these bad things? Like very gentle parenting to get answers from everybody.
Very weird things are happening to all of my friends. Why is this happening? I need to step away and monitor all of my children.
Between Peter and Frankie and Wally, it's kind of needed.
Yeah. So like those were the things that I knew that I wanted to do, and then I knew like that just immediately led Pink because I didn't want to pick like any of the spectrums that I felt were very big on getting immediately into the fight and starting to pummel people. I wanted to be on the background, letting everybody else do the really big stuff while I just plink plonked people in the forehead.
Volley
So
people
yeah,
from
that
the
worked.
background.
Yeah, and then volley happened, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm doing 4 damage to a guy. I guess we're leaning into that now.
Javante.
I lean so heavily into characters first before like a lot of stats come into focus. What do I want to play as opposed to what do I want to, stat wise do things? And when coming up with the idea for Dior, the big one that I wanted to do was I wanted to make a character that's physically and mentally does not fit the spectrum that they are aligned with. So whereas Dior is very shy, withdrawn, and doesn't really like to interact with others, his spectrum being the socially focused one that is based around helping out other people just appealed to me almost immediately. Which then led into him kind of just becoming a chameleon kind of character that would want to blend in as opposed to standing out. And for a much more personal reason, I freaking love the color black and really wanted to play somebody in that spectrum.
I definitely. I've already decided the color of the Ranger I'm going to be. Now it's just finding the class or spectrum.
Yeah. How do I exactly make this work?
Paige.
High level, green and silver are two of my favorite colors, so we'll just put that out there. But also, like, when we had started this series, or we started talking about it, like, not long after Jason David Frank passed away. So I think knew coming into this that I kind of wanted to play off of that and kind of honor him as Tommy in how many seasons of Power Rangers he did. So I just had to start with his iconic Green Ranger color. And then when the add-ons came out during the series, the other books. So when I saw the Silver Ranger, it kind of just played into Frankie's whole arc of trying to find his own footing as a ranger and not in Tommy's shadow. And that was an additional color change like Tommy went through, but it was a color that Tommy never held. So it was just like an appealing thing. And plus, like, the whole way all the abilities of the Silver Ranger worked with using the different power points and how I was playing Frankie's relationship with magic, it kind of also just kind of fit the character arc really good.
Oh yeah. And I of course saved our wonderful Phantom Ranger, Morphing Jesus, Purple Cheshire ArcaKnight Ranger for last.
You forgot Morphin Mommy's special little boy. Thank you.
Morphin Mommy's special little boy. So when we were discussing you coming on as a guest character,
Guessed.
You already
Yes.
guess.
Then
You
said-
already had this idea of like, I want to be this like amorphous kind of ranger. I want to be from outside and away from the group, kind of sent in. And we settled on the Phantom Ranger as far as like the class for it. But why did you pick purple being his like main motif color?
Because pink was taken.
Wow.
Look, as I do in most games I'm present in, I'm here for the vibes. Like, I'm here to just make a character that like I would enjoy drawing and or like vibing with. So like I decided to make like originally the idea I presented you with was like a Power Ranger streamer, which
Yeah,
oddly enough, now that I think about it, evolved into the content writer idea.
yeah, 100%.
But you were like, no, you can't reveal your identity and like you can't be popular and like be a Power Ranger like that. So I'm like, all right, cool, I'll be God then.
How can I be God? I think was the
Give
exact
me
words you
more
said
power.
to me.
Yeah, I'm like, give me more power than Alec. And then he did. But yeah,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. It genuinely was because like pink was already like a color that was taken, and purple was like my second favorite color. So I'm like, let's go with that. Like, I think it'll fit like the mysticism like angle. Like, you know, I'm the Cheshire Ranger, and like the Cheshire Cat was like purple in Alice in Wonderland. So like, makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll go in reverse now. If your ArcaKnight could mentor a team of their own Rangers, what would your theme be for those Rangers?
Theme?
Yeah, so like dinosaurs, trains, police officers, all the different themes that Ranger teams had. What would Schrodinger's team theme be?
I think, and if it's not me, Hama doing it. You mean like the character themselves?
Yeah.
Okay. It would be like a Wonderland Phantom Thieves like season. You'd have like
Okay.
all these like the Cheshire like cat. They're the ones like guide them on this mission, and like for this team, Red would be a girl. Leader would be a girl. And
I vibe with it.
it'd be based off of like Alice, or maybe they'd be like, I don't know. Color wise, Alice would have to be blue, I think technically, but like I just want them to be the leader, so technically they'd have to be red unless I just don't have a red that season. In which case, that would actually be the. Ooh. Okay, now I'm thinking of like an actual season because like the Red Ranger was the original leader, but like when the blue came when blue came in, Red got all jealous, and that's like the Red Queen, and so she goes off and like rules her own kingdom, and now you have like a team of either four, like maybe like three. So you got like blue taking over. You have I forgot the other character. You have like the Mad Hatter, and then you got like the
rabbit.
yeah, the rabbit, the mouse,
Mm-hmm.
the
You have the
sentient cookbook.
Jabberwocky.
Yeah, that one. That's also one of them, probably. I have not seen Alice in Wonderland in the longest time.
I just replayed Nancy McGee's Alice in Wonderland, and you not knowing the names is physically hurting me.
Yeah, Nancy is also one of the characters.
You stop that.
And then also Optimus Prime shows up, and
Paige, what would Frankie's Ranger team theme be?
I think Ranger team wise, it would definitely be a more combat oriented team like the Ninja Rangers from early on.
Okay.
Animal wise, I feel like it would lean into his heritage because I guess Frankie is technically part Native American, so I feel like
Yeah.
like those ancient like spirit animal guide type feel would probably be his thing, kind of playing off of David Trueheart's like backstory and stuff.
Okay.
So I don't think he would really have a tie to anything else, honestly.
That's fair. I do like that idea of like spirit mentors or spirit leaders akin to like the familiars that you guys had
Yeah.
for your like team. Javante, what would your Ranger team theme for Dior be?
I have been thinking about this. I think because Dior is so infatuated with the concept of the world as it is in terms of like mechanics and science, his Ranger team would probably be based around the different schools of thought of science. So like the blue biochemistry Ranger and so on and so forth, with each sort of representing a different avenue of how to adjust reality according to science and tech.
Oh hell yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. You guys are just helping me write all the next series.
Future
this,
seasons.
this
I'm gonna
wasn't
do.
this wasn't actually a
Your
question.
question.
This was Ark's question. But yeah, no, I think that was just him going like, science and technology has been just as important as magic. This is how this works, please.
Brandon.
Spies. Immediately. That's the answer that I have.
Spies.
Like, I think that given Marcia's background in particular, she has picked up a great deal of spycraft from her mother that would be very easily translatable as one of the only skills that she would be able to teach other people. But I think that it would also be important to her, especially after the experience of being an ArcaKnight, to be in the company of people who she's still training to do the kind of work that she did as a Power Ranger, but also make sure that they are in little as little danger as possible
I love
until
that.
things get really, really intense. So I think that she would train some. I think she would specifically train a lot of young people in spycraft in general, and then pick 5 of them and go, here, you do this thing on weekends
We're
as
the
well.
Power Rangers now.
You guys
Totally
jump
spies
people after
Power
school.
Rangers.
Alec.
So I've been thinking about it and I know we just did ArcaKnights, but I think based on Peter's heritage, I think his Ranger team would be based on the Knights of the Round Table.
Diving back into
so like that they're like the Red Ranger is the King Arthur Ranger. You know, there's the Lancelot Ranger, the Guinevere, you know, like the Knights of the Round Table would be like the Rangers of the Round Table would be where he would go. He would lean back into his heritage and where he's from in this kind of like knightly, I guess, background, I think.
Oh yeah. The one I would do, it's like this weird combination of like magic and knights. I've got a really catchy name for it. It's like ArcaKnights.
Oh my fucking
Where it's
god.
like mages,
Yeah.
combined with that, they have like these, really powerful magic familiars that they could communicate with. And they've never really done that in Power Rangers before. So I was like, let's give everybody one of those familiars and have that kind of relationship.
I don't know. I think it
really
needs more
cool.
Catboys personally.
Probably at least one. Minimum
At least one, yeah. Minimum one that was just supposed to show up for like 2 episodes, and then they're just there for the rest of the season.
just holds and stays.
Stick my hand in a frying peanut oil, I swear to God.
Next we get to some of the individual questions. Alec, this one I was told to specifically let you know who it was from.
Sake.
This is from Jadith. But is how betrayed did you feel by Dark Peter?
Betrayed by Dark Peter.
I'm guessing in essence too, like
the fact that
the first appearance of the Draconic Overlord for everyone else, and the first thing he does is stab Peter's mom.
So I don't know if it was so much betrayal as it was like, I don't know if I want to say pity, but it's almost like seeing where the path that I was going to take would have ended up. It was almost like, and seeing the fact that he was all alone. He was all alone, and the fact that he, with wild abandon, tried to murder our mother, and seeing like how much of myself I would have lost if I went that way. It wasn't so much betrayal. Obviously, there was anger and everything like that because my mother got ran through. But I think it was almost pity for him and like where he ended up, and that like, and kind of self-assurance that like the right choice was made. If I would have gone down that path of trying to correct everything over and over again, I would have ended up as a man who would murder his own mother.
So that level of like a
know.
mercy killing almost, of like, you've already gone too far,
right?
And I have to be the one to stop it. I have to be the one that ends it.
Right. So it wasn't so much betrayal as it was like, again, that kind of like pity, mercy, and also reassurance, I think.
Hell yeah. For Paige, how was playing a relative of Tommy after the actor's passing?
I mean, I think I tied in a little bit what I said at the beginning, but I wanted to lead into all of that trauma and play off of it, both as honor of him, but also just because I traumatize my players a lot. So when I play, I like to be traumatized. It's just to balance out the karma of it all. And just being able to explore, I think, the storyline of, oh, you get this power, but then you find out, oh yeah, you're not the first by far, but also your uncle kind of did it better than anyone else. So
You're like
you have
directly
to
related
follow
to
that
the
up.
first one.
Yeah. It's a pretty big shadow to get out of, and it didn't really even start to click, I think, until a few episodes before the finale for Frankie. So
Yeah. I think one of the things that was beautiful about it too, though, was we got to, not only was there the trauma and the interactions that we shared through the series of what Frankie was experiencing and going through all of that, but we also, in those moments, were able to pay a very important and very beautiful homage to Jason David Frank and the
Mhm.
character of Tommy Oliver and what he had done and what he meant to so many people.
yeah, I mean, Jason David Frank literally was Power Rangers for the majority of Power Rangers fans for so long. So being able to show that in the series was a really nice way to honor him after everything that happened.
I thought it was awesome, and I swear I was trying to make you cry the entire time.
You came very close on multiple occasions.
For Javante, this one's great, honestly.
Oh no.
Did you always want to play the cyborg storyline, or was there another character idea for Dior?
I came to Arc with it. I think my first DM to you when we were making characters was, so I see there's this like certain background. What if I made him a cyborg?
Yep.
And we didn't tell anyone else. I fully wanted to in I'll just answer a part of this. In effort to continue to try to play characters that I'm more in tune with for myself, I wanted to play a character that was mixed because I'm mixed race. But I didn't want to just go, well, he's mixed race. That's not really a thing that's problematic for this group. But him being a part of the thing that they utilize to morph and not knowing if he's more of one side or the other, that's intriguing to me. And if anyone really likes drama, it's me, including inflicting it on others accidentally. But no, I came to Arc with the idea. Arc and then was like, I have a perfect system to play in for this. As far
It
as
was
like,
great watching everybody's responses in the first and second episode before the
I-
reveal
yeah.
happened,
yeah,
of like me explaining specifically what Dior was seeing,
Mhm.
how he was processing it, and everybody's like, "This guy's a fucking robot. He is absolutely a robot."
This guy's
And
a
I'm like, "You
robot."
don't know.
Eh.
Sorry."
No, he's just a little weird. He's a little wonky. The animatronics get quirky at night. No, I had, and to be fair, it like directly after that, I had no idea what else to do if that wasn't given. I would have probably just made him just a shy, reclusive kid.
I
But
mean,
then no, that was my idea initially that we then played off of it. It was awesome. I loved doing that.
I mean, early on we had an episode where you had to leave early, and you like went into shutdown mode, and
Yeah, I
Frank
went
had to
into
grab
sleep
you
mode.
and
Yeah.
put you in bed, and you were like, "Oh, this person weighs unbelievably heavy." I'm like,
Yeah.
weird. What?
There's no way he should be okay. I'm just gonna put him on this bed. And he was also completely stiff.
Yes.
Like it wasn't like
Mhm.
fell asleep
Oh,
comfortably in a
Christ.
corner. He
It was-
just
Was
went
this?
full rigor mortis.
It was in your
in
house.
Marcia's apartment.
Mhm.
I was like, homie, what's happening? Uh, because I will also say, and this leads into a kind of side question that I kind of want to ask, that
Absolutely.
Marcia's interaction with this was also a great deal of worry as well. Because here are all of these things that could go wrong for us. Every time we learn a new thing about our status as ArcaKnights, we're learning that we are under a additional threat. But a lot of how I read Dior's interactions with himself was that this is a thing that is of particular risk to you, what can we do to actually alleviate that situation for you as much as possible? And I kind of wanted to ask in particular, if any of that, either in the beginning or later on as we started learning more about Dior, if any of those interactions were also attempting to play being on the spectrum as well.
Yes, absolutely. One of the big ones that I like folded into the character was that sense of unbelonging. Because of something that I was listening to that was if you're born not knowing what your initial culture is, so you play into the culture of the people you are around all the time, and then you leave and try to rejoin your original culture that you were never a part of, you no longer belong to either side. The biggest fear Dior has is just not knowing who he is. It's just I'm either a robot that is just part of the morphing grid, or I'm a human with a lot of prosthetics. And currently speaking, I'm neither one but both. And it's seeing like others how they interact, especially how they interact with their families, where they're a lot more familial. Whereas with him, it's a little bit more like a business transaction because he doesn't know how to interact with others. So he chameleonizes himself. He or in terms code switches. He'll act more like Marcia when he's around Marcia. He'll act more like Peter when he's around Peter. He'll act more like Frankie when he's around Frankie. Because it's just easier to do that than be introspective and try to figure out who he is until far later into the series where he's comfortable enough to do so and let down some guards.
Yeah, that's
Also-
not relatable at all.
Then they came the concept of form, which
Yeah.
did change a little, but it changed enough that it was good. Because form initially was him fully leaning into the cybernetic aspect and just going, nah, humanity's weak, the flesh is weak, fuck it. We're going full
Full morphing grid, full
Yeah.
power connection, everything.
Yep. And that would have been complete loss of Dior as a person and would just have been form. So it's yes, I played off of that very much so.
Which the wonderful question Brandon asked to Javante ties into their own individual question that they were submitted for Brandon. Do you think Marcia would have done the same things as future Marcia did in the dark timeline?
Oh God. Oh God. I think yes. I think Marcia having to learn that those things happened was initially very traumatic for her. But I think in the sequence of events, once things started to go wrong to a point where they couldn't be righted, I think she would ultimately make like a lot of these decisions ultimately kind of suck. But I think that without any other choice, she would have made them because the alternative is the destruction of Earth. And one of the things that I was actually curious about, and I wish we had like 3 more episodes for me to have time to spend with future Marcia to actually do all of these things. But like I'm sure you noticed in that second to last episode how obvious it was that Marcia wanted to know how future Marcia felt about everything that was happening.
Yes.
Because like this is a lot. We are in a broken down building, hunkered down beside the fully cybernetic version of my friend, while the fully evil version of another of my friend is about to bust through the ceiling and start to murder all of us. I want to know how much this sucks because it sucks. Because ultimately, I think Marcia knows that those decisions were the right ones to make, barring all the alternatives, but not being given the opportunity to fully envision her feelings is one of the things that is big about Marcia, that having to transition from a place of danger to a place of safety all the time as a part of her life has kind of made it difficult for her to just be candid about her feelings.
Yeah.
And now when all of the stakes have already been expended, when the only choice you have is Earth on or Earth off, now I want to have some feelings.
And I tried to show that unfortunately, like you guys know, and even some of the viewers know, we did have to cut a few episodes out for scheduling events, things that had popped up in the interim. There was going to be essentially a full episode of you guys going through the Draconic Overlord's citadel, which was raised out of the power chamber, having these moments for each of you to have conversations with future Marcia. Each one of the universes you guys traveled through was going to be a full episode in each one leading up to the finale. And unfortunately, we had to cut it down, so we had to speed run and have everybody on the same page. But I wanted to convey that same point that you made, where I made decisions that were the best considering the outcomes. And when future Marcia gave you the Zeo crystal of that world, she explained to you the emotional point was, no matter what, we still love them. These decisions hurt, and we had to make these decisions, but we made it because we love them, and it would lead to this moment. It would lead to where we could stop it, where we could fix it, where we could end it. But we're doing it out of love. We're not doing it because we hate Dark Peter, or we're so upset, or we're so angry and look at all the consequences, but more of a, even through the consequences, I still cared and loved for them.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I want to immediately touch on that bit in that episode, because I think that was one of the coolest things that happened that entire session, and that I love it a lot because it played into a thing that I care about a great deal as a player, as a GM, and as a writer, which is that beat in a lot of stories where you see that somebody's hypnotized or something like that, and everybody's like, I don't want to hurt you because I love you too much. I loved instead playing into, this is going to hurt, but it's going to hurt because I love you.
Because I love you. Absolutely. It was such a wonderful thing to see. And even seeing the Draconic Overlord as, in this Ranger Slayer form was like, no, I'm still just as bad as you all have thought I am and think I am or believe me to be. And I'm still going to do these horrible things. Deal with it, essentially, was like his point of view. But even then, the combat was, we're hurting you and we are doing this to end it, not because we hate you or not because we're mad at you, but because we love you and because we see who you truly and deeply are.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about all these wonderful emotions, we got our question for Hama. Were there any other pranks or jokes that you wanted to make for Arc to make canon in the universe, like the Super Mega Force death?
Jesus
Honestly,
Christ.
that's my crowning achievement. Listen, I don't have nearly as much issue with like the other seasons other than Samurai. Like the rest of them kind of get a pass.
Isn't Samurai also dead? Didn't you also
I
kill
don't think we
Samurai?
got to that.
No,
It was like on the list.
so I told the Kabuki Theater Rangers or whatever their names were, Samurai Rangers, the like proper samurai.
Shinwa Kage.
Yeah, Shinwa Kage Rangers. I gave them like an address. I'm like, hey, go over here and kill these people.
Go
so
end
I
this for me.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that play out. I would have liked to see like a whole fight between like the Japanese Shinwa Kage Rangers and Samurai. But honestly, I got all my jollies messing with like the ArcaKnights. Everything else is just being petty. Like I would go to like whatever season that I have issue with and just like try to ruin their lives. And I want that to be canon that after the events of this campaign,
Schrodinger found a way.
Schrodinger,
to still go mess with all these other universes.
Yep. Even if it's not trapping them on a barren planet, it is specifically to just make their lives hell. Targeting Super Mega Force again, going to Samurai, maybe seeing how I can make their lives terrible. Going to Ninja Steel, not because I specifically hate them, but just because like
I want them to do better.
Yeah, I want them to do better. Ninja Space Metal is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I stand by that. That is the stupidest thing ever.
Better, worse than Dragonite?
Dragonite is
amazing.
high art. Thank you. Dragonite, top tier. Dragonite is my everything. I would have liked to
So
see Dragon Knight show up and beat up like any of the
have
Rangers.
at least one common rider show up in future series. That's what I'm
Yeah,
hearing.
when you told us to like give you names of people you want to see cameo, I should have just been like, yeah, Common Rider Gates.
Yeah,
Can he?
just go ahead and put them in there for me.
Yeah, just
Give me
just, like,
Ace.
Ace, my boy, Ace. Ace Ukyo, the greatest winner ever.
The
MLG
star of
Pro.
the star of the stars.
God,
Star
I
of the
love that.
star of the
I
stars,
love that
baby.
season so much. Anyway, yeah. It's mostly a lot of just going back and messing with the Mega Force Rangers, going to Samurai, taking all their powers, going to Ninja Steel, hiring like one Japanese person, just one Japanese person, please. Show them Ninja
put
Storm
it
and
in
be
the
like,
list.
I have a question for Arc.
Go for it.
You at one point said that you had a plan for if any of our characters went evil. I want to hear.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
want to
what would be
hear
other
what
evil
your
versions?
ideas were.
So for Frankie, if Frankie had gone evil, JJ Oliver would have come from the future to the past.
You
And would have
motherfucker.
been warned by Marcia's mother, who works alongside Time Force. So has all the technology and everything to send him right back in time to handle those situations, to deal with those situations and things of that nature. For Dior, one of the ones that I was super excited to lean into but didn't get a chance to was if he had leaned more towards form after Schrodinger had been introduced. Schrodinger would have been aware of you leaning into the first identity of the Phantom Ranger. And that first identity being cursed by Dark Spectre and had to give up their power and all of those things. So Schrodinger was that like counter to that scenario happening, because Dior was having that same crisis during the time that Peter was going through his dark crisis. And for Marcia would have been the introduction of the Time Force Red Ranger that is in the current timeline, the current continuity, as Wes. And again, receiving this information of my daughter is a ranger and we're seeing an arcing timeline where she has now gone evil. You are the only agent in the area that if we send somebody else, they would know. You're already there. So then you would have had Wes show up with the Quantum Ranger, which would have opened up the Quantum Ranger powers for people to get access to, or things of that nature, to kind of help understand it and fix that issue. Schrodinger going evil, I go, hey Hama, it was great, but now your character is my villain for the month.
I would have wanted to play the villain though.
Now
Tell
you
me I
just
can't be
became the villain.
I am so curious. What? Okay, but like, what if I had stayed and been the villain? Like, what would your plan be then?
If you had stayed and been the villain, we would have had to have very in-depth conversations, much more so than the mission briefings I would send you before each session.
I want to see
How
the
to play your
alternate-
character again. That's part 32.
I would have personally liked to see it because I think being a villain would have been fun. When's the like, or can we have like a Tales from the Multiverse where like Schrodinger shows up and like introduces all these, like, this is what if Dior was evil?
We just do
This is-
various one shots where we come back and each of us rotate playing the villain.
Yeah, we all get to be evil.
this is where Frankie was evil.
Just-
It's just me DMing Matt freaking more phenomenal.
Shut the
again.
fuck up.
Personally, I want, yeah. So like, just saying, Ark, the opportunity arises if you ever wanted like a Tales from Schrodinger's fucking diary
God.
series.
There's opportunities. There are things available.
It's
Well,
me.
we
I
would
Tales from the Cheshire.
Cheshire.
Yeah. Wait, Gene is onto something. I want that.
I have a question for you, Ark.
Go for it.
Were there any little darlings or anything that you had planned that we fucked, that we completely made you go, well, and throw it out the window?
Yeah, so the Necronites.
Yeah, I want to know what happened because, like, I cared about that beat a lot. We went to that class for nothing.
The Necronites were supposed to take over for the Dread Hollows. They were going to wipe out the Dread Hollows and take over, and they were going to be the ones ushering in Dark Spectre. The first thing that led to that getting thrown out the window was when Dior and Schrodinger teleported to the school to go and help you guys with the Necronites when they first appeared. The battling what did I call it?
I shot him.
No. There was a monster that was created through Alec Peter's car and Frankie's desire to join the Olympic boxing team when they attacked the desk that they stole out of the classroom.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That was in the parking lot, and Dior and Schrodinger were supposed to fight that instead of just jetting straight to the classroom. Those of you in the classroom were supposed to get to like some kind of stalemate in the fight because you guys were strong at that point, but you were outnumbered. It would have been Nico going back and forth between good and evil in the class. The four of you who were there still dealing with 5, sometimes 6 evil entities, and that battle to where both of you would have left the fight. The Necronites gone back to the Dread Hollows, and you guys helping with the battle against the fighting Corvette in the parking lot. That never happened. So that whole chunk got thrown out the window. And then Chris was supposed to just steal random things from the Dread Hollows and rolled so high on his infiltration roll. And I said, okay, anything in the room you can literally take. Anything in there. He's like, okay, I'm taking the Necronite bracelets off of all of the Necronites then. And I was like, well, there goes that.
Yeah.
I gave you plot. You gave me the
Love
tools, and I used them to succeed.
But it was wonderful. I loved it. Again, really the only thing that got like pushed or swept away, like we didn't get a chance to really get into, was the exploration of the other universes when traversing through the grid.
Right.
Everything
from the
else kind of
Cheshireverse?
like circled back. We could talk about it. Everything else kind of circled back to itself in episode 1. The discussion with Flamel about the Zeo Crystal Cove underneath the power chamber and protecting it. It circled back once you guys had Nico on your team, and then he explained, oh, this is what they're coming for. This is what they want. You guys reconstituting Flamel back. He was like, hey, they're on their way now. I was gone way longer than anticipated. We need to get reinforcements here. Everything just kind of circled back to itself eventually. But really, it was just missing out on the Necronite stuff and then the trip through the other universes.
I bullied the Necronites.
You stripped them of all power and everything.
You're welcome, everybody.
For everyone, how did knowing the Dark Peter timeline affect how you worked towards stopping it?
Piss Alec off enough until eventually he doesn't do it.
I feel like that has the opposite effect.
I
feel
mean,
would've
that was my
directly done
strategy and it
exactly what I
worked.
wanted.
I wanted to murder you for like the first 4 episodes.
I gave you all a common enemy. You hated me so that you'd stop hating each other.
I don't think Frankie would have changed, honestly. Frankie's idea was just to beat the shit out of Peter until he stopped. That's what I did the first time.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have a
That was a
strategy. I just
different
did whatever
Frankie.
Ark told me. Ark was the one with the strategy. I was
Hey,
just
the
here.
first time you transformed, I beat you up, so shut up.
in the end, he lost.
Alternate timeline, Frankie lost. Shut
Tales
up.
from the Cheshireverse. Let's go. The
Um,
universe where Frankie wins.
I think
Lord.
I think for me playing the concept of the Red Ranger, which is like the leader, and having the juxtaposition that person, me, would eventually be the one who's responsible for all of their deaths or terrible things that happen to them, et cetera, helped inform me as a player of like how I should approach the group and group decisions from there on, because I wanted to protect the group because I knew where it was going if I didn't. So I think that's kind of how I like knowing the events that would come. That's kind of what changed me, Alec, as a player, and changing the way I played Peter, and changing Peter himself. That like he's going to take this more seriously as far as the leader goes, because he needs to protect these people, because he could end up being the one that undoes everything.
Love it.
Which is
And
what
then-
drove me really hard to make sure that like I used that spell ink that I could have used for anything. It was, I'm going to use it to make sure that in this universe, evil Peter cannot exist.
Hell yeah. And then Javante and Brandon.
So Dior died. That was a thing that happened
Yeah.
prior to all of this.
Clear.
Actually, let me restate it in a different way. Dior was murdered inadvertently by his best friend. Dior was already changing as a person, like post that, because his thought process of like nothing, like stuff that's solved analytically doesn't work. Like not everyone functions off of logic, reason, and formula. People are people. They function off of emotion, what they're feeling in the given situation. Stop focusing on the logic aspect. Focus on emotion, which is where I started leaning more towards Dior being Lamont as opposed to Dior being Dior or Form. So already trying to change how things were going in that initial timeline inadvertently.
And then Brandon.
Well, I think a lot of how Marcia played that was informed by Marcia's own experience before getting to Angel Grove. These are the only people that I'm interacting with since I got into this college. I don't know anybody else. We've been given this responsibility, and then the first things that I learn is, here is this kid who may be possessed. And then immediately after that is, oh, a member of your team may turn evil in the future and murder everyone but you.
Killed the planet.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, like the thing that I kind of like figured out as a player at the end of the series is that the best possible future that we could have had is the one that we had, because it ended up being the future where if it weren't for my future self surviving, I wouldn't have learned that we can still be compassionate towards Dark Peter. Because the entire time I was freaking out about, okay, is it possible? Is there a realm in time where just ensuring that Peter doesn't lose his way can solve this problem, and leaning as much as possible into that? And then we get to the end where we learn, yeah, no, that's what you were doing the whole time. That's what happens here. It's still going to take a lot of effort, but is better than having given up on Peter. And I think that was exactly the way that it was supposed to happen, and I appreciate that kind of story. Because yeah, I think Marcia's nature is just to want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt that they can be better than themselves, because I've seen you at your best. I know what kind of person you can be, so it's better to believe that you can get back there than to give up on that.
I love that. And I also want to, ping Hama while he's chewing. There was a question, and I didn't know how to phrase it because even their wording was a little bit off. How did it feel for Schrodinger to have to face like the literal embodiment of what is the worst case scenario? What is like the ultimate evil in their life, but now have people beside them?
I think I would. It's a good question. I think for Schrodinger specifically, like the Draconic Overlord is basically everything that has ever gone wrong in his life, and like is the constant reminder of why he runs away, and is like doing everything in his power to basically be as strong as he can to protect what little he has left. But I think in this moment, being able to realize, at least to himself, that like I don't have to go at it alone because he does have people now, and henceforth why he transitioned into being the like purple Arcanite Ranger as opposed to just like the sort of independent. I think that's kind of where his head was at. Nothing scares that child more than the Draconic Overlord. But being able to beat him down with his friends definitely felt good, and that kind of gave him the courage. If they weren't there, he probably would have just fucking dipped, gone to like another dimension, messed with Megaforce again.
And do you feel that Schrodinger still has that small bit of fear of Peter, of the possibility of Peter still becoming that?
Up until up until their defeat and like seeing it tangibly in their on their face, I think he definitely held that, which is why like a lot throughout like most of his episodes he was constantly messing with Peter, because like to get like, you know, to kind of gauge his reactions to things, but also just as like a very subconscious revenge where like I can't kill big boy Peter, but like I can mess with this guy because I'm stronger than him. And like that was a lot of like his very unhealthy coping mechanism that stemmed from like his very deep set fear of like, you know, get your shots in now before like you literally can't anymore. So I would say, yeah, up until the last episode, he definitely still was scared that Peter was going to go bad.
Oh yeah. What moment for you, for all of you, will always make you laugh from ArcaKnights?
Still in the desk with Peter. I think it was the first example of don't leave Peter and Frankie alone together ever in a situation.
Stealing the like bracelets from the Necronites. I got so much entertainment out of messing with your bad guys, because like I was like I had no fear of death, because I'm like I could like either I fail and like my guest spot like that, you know, that's it, I die, like that's just a lesson for the other people to learn. Meanwhile, like if I succeed, like this is gonna be really funny for me.
What about you, Javante?
Marcia and I kicking Peter in the shin as the entire desk situation happened still gives me a giggle every time.
Yeah, that like the entire desk saga is one big. It is like the quintessential Mighty Morphin episode.
Yeah, the desk saga just feels like a Mighty Morphin skit of just like constant stuff is happening,
I don't know
and
what
it's just
you
Marcia.
mean. It was a great idea, guys.
it's just
was.
Didn't
Marcia
immediately
and
get
Dior
my
like ping ponging their heads back and forth, listening to them talking like.
Didn't
What?
immediately lead to my dojo being destroyed and all of Tommy's weapons being stolen right after that.
No, not at all. I think early on, one of the ones that made me laugh the most was the group trying to teach Dior how to text people and how to carry conversations over the phone.
Yes.
That was definitely like
Dior's still not good at texting.
that was beautiful.
Is still one of my favorite bits.
Send 3 beer emojis and then send a winky face separate from the beer emojis.
Yeah.
Which he does.
Oh Lord.
Alec, what moment made you laugh the most in the campaign?
A lot of good ones have been said already, but I really enjoyed the hot potato with the most evil entity in the universe. That was one of my favorite things. Where
You
Chris
take him,
and
I don't want him.
He's like, you take it, you take it, you take it. Like it's like, you know, the most evil being ever to exist.
Literal Power Ranger Satan.
Literally in
like,
your trap
playing
card.
Hot potato with Satan was great. Playing hot potato with Satan, I think, was probably one of my favorite like funny moments from the show. Because we definitely had a level of heaviness to our show, so to have a bit of that classic Saturday morning, like, you know, fun in the show, even though like we're dealing with like my mom is about to get stabbed in 5 minutes, but we're playing hot potato with Satan. Like that is, it's like a fun. It was like a fun little just like moment of light amongst all of this shit.
I think that's what we did good overall for the series. Like, it was a mix of like, this is an actual, like, we're taking this seriously. It's a little more serious than what Power Rangers is, but then we would get those classic Power Ranger campy moments here and there, which was great.
We have our share of the I'm Scottish moments in our game.
Yes, absolutely.
Scottish.
I'm Scottish.
Following that up with, what moment from this show are you most proud of? I'll kick us off with getting to tell the story, getting to do the show for as long as we did it, for the amount of episodes we had, and consistently be able to put it together.
And even moving from one Twitch channel to another.
Yeah, doing a whole transition to a whole new Twitch channel from one that was already like well known and very well defined and recognized to a fully independent channel after that, and still able to maintain all of our fans and all of our viewers and tell this story with everybody. I was always excited when it was the day to play ArcaKnights, to run ArcaKnights. That is what I am most proud of for it.
Hell yeah.
I told you guys, they sent bangers.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
For me personally, I was very proud of the like backstory reveal for Schrodinger. Like as like the like that first moment of him being like an ancient, like old, so tired person, and like kind of giving them the lowdown of like, hey, yeah, I was having fun earlier, but yeah, this is why.
Here's the depth that made me have to make surface level jokes, kind of thing.
Yeah, I very much enjoy making characters with that use humor as a coping mechanism.
I think the moment I'm like most proud of is, I mean, there's a bunch, but I think it was when during the episode, the reclaimed lost episode, that Arc has. Now the guy that I found while sifting through thousands of files, but was specifically the fact that Arc dangled the carrot real well in that. Arc put a vase full of the ink that I needed to do what I needed to do, or wanted to do, and not only like having the 1v1 with Mordred, but like choosing to tackle through the the vase and then getting my newfound powers through that. I think that was just a cool moment that I was proud of.
Don't worry,
Either
Alec,
that or shocking you all with the Oathbreaker form. That was also
the whole dangle the ink in front of you's come full circle, because now in my Power Ranger game, Arc has that same pen that Peter had.
Good.
I think for Frankie, probably the whole death to Silver Ranger arc, like all the stuff with the Morphing Rock and like all the like trying to figure out who the fuck he's gonna be now that this got ripped from him, being temporarily a blue space ranger, I think it was, and then just like the full like from Rowan being ripped literally out of his body to finding this new power and having to like own up to it. I think I really enjoyed getting to ride that arc of Frankie's kind of transition there.
Javante, Brandon?
I think for me, it's accidentally a kind of thing that didn't happen, or the way that a thing transitioned in the way that I played my character, which is when I made Marcia, I had this idea that she would be a very untrusting person. Like it would be very difficult for people to actually kind of break through the shell of all of those previous experiences, and that kind of happened for our first few episodes, and then the stakes just kept constantly being high. And I think I really admire the way that transitioned into Marcia being like weirdly motherly, because in hindsight, I think that she was becoming her own mother. In a way that was really cool, and I like that kind of played out differently for every member of the ArcaKnights, but also had an obvious effect on the way that she related to her mother, the way that she related to Barrett, the way that she related to herself, in ways that I thought were actually really cool in hindsight.
It was really beautiful because I think another portion of that tied into it more so than just the stakes getting higher was also Marcia now had a maternal figure literally at her fingertips that she could consult with, that she could talk with, that she could share these moments with, where before it was like, mom's gonna be in Spain for the next 3 months and all I had was Barrett. And now having Tamrit, having the Lady Queen Tamrit right there at her side and willing to go, no, you're right, you can feel these things and you can approach them this way and I will have your back, helped a lot with Marcia's development into that like maternal point for the team.
Like I was saying, being given a kind of space where you can have your feelings was a lot of how that happened. So yeah.
Then Javante.
Dior's death and rebirth is as much as Alec cringes is a scene that I really do. I have a lot of pride in, not just for like, not really from my side of the roleplay aspect, because I weirdly have very little like personal pride in how I roleplay, but in terms of story and how seeing other people's reactions to it, I'm so happy of how that scene played out because it's exactly what I wanted. Of like,
Having
yes, drama, yay.
That first question to the morphing matron, is my brother okay?
Yeah.
Talking about Peter.
Yeah, I am dead. Is my brother okay?
Yeah. There was so much depth in just that. That one moment was so poignant. Like you could feel, everybody felt that question being asked and the sincerity and the emotion behind it. The next one, kind of similar to the other one, but I wanted to include it because it might be a little different. What moment made your character truly feel like a Power Ranger?
That's
I know
hard.
exactly what it was for me.
Ooh.
Go for it.
I can't remember if it was like episode 4 or 5. Nico is around, we're scrapping left and right. I think we were in area 52 when this happened. And I remember distinctly turning to Nico and essentially having the conversation about, well, whatever you actually decide to do in this moment is going to decide whether you are a good guy or a bad guy. So we trust you to make that decision, but you're gonna have to make it. That was a moment when Marcia felt less like a person who had been thrust into the role of a Power Ranger and more like, okay, you accept the fact that you have a modicum of power in this moment and you're using it to affect someone else rather than just to win a fight.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was also a big turning point for Nico as well, because no one else up to that point had that kind of, as brief as it was, that kind of conversation with him. All of the other interactions, you were either dealing with the new kid who doesn't know anybody and is just like, hey, we worked together on a project before, so I'm just going to kind of hang out around you, or was the Chimera and was actively tempting each one of you to like, oh, fight me, come take me on, come be a ranger in the worst ways. And that was the first moment where Nico saw you can have power and you can be good at the same time. It's not mutually exclusive things. You can be both.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about anybody else? What moment made your character truly feel like a Power Ranger?
I think for Frankie, it would have been after I did the meditation when I got the new powers, and I had that final talk at the Rock with Rock.
With Rock,
as well as I think Tommy was there too briefly. like that final thing of being able to like, you need to just kind of embrace your own powers and stop like looking back. You need to like realize what you are and how you can contribute to the team and rely on them. I think kind of gave him that last little push to kind of embrace it all.
It was that you're the one holding the mirror up, no one else is, kind of thing. I like that.
On a completely not like as a personal thing, but just like, this is as Power Rangers as this gets for me, was every ranger like appearing for the final battle with just from even like multiple timelines, and then everyone standing in
one Super Sentai.
Yep, Captain Marvelous.
In the most like Avengers Assemble way before the final conflict, felt so much like a Power Rangers thing. That like, yep, this is why I joined this. This is the exact moment where Dior is like, I'm a Ranger. This is great. And then I missed the next episode.
That was great.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You got your superhero Tyson moment, and then you had to go to
Just
work.
disappeared off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's fine. I think for me, the moment that made me feel most like a ranger was like having like essentially my Zord just being like a very auxiliary thing to like the other Zords, and when they combined, I think it was specifically with like Frankie and like the Dragon Zord, and now all of a sudden you have this like huge dragon like knight that just has like a scarf, and that's just my cat, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing. Standing on top and doing like the fist bump with Frankie, like as we were basically like parading through the city on a giant robot kaiju, was like
The
top
literal
tier.
last use of the Dragon's Lord was fusing with
Yeah,
your
what
cat.
happened? Wait, where did we never saw that again? Like
It ran out of power because we had to drain the coin.
Oh.
The coin didn't finish getting fully charged.
Dang.
So he used what was available in it to
Mhm.
summon the Dragon Zord, but he would have had to start the recharge all over again afterwards. And then, next episode he got stabbed through the chest and got
Yeah,
the
it
Green
kind
Ranger
of
powers taken.
kind of was
it
a
happens.
roadblock.
Alec.
So there's like a story beat that made me feel like a ranger, and then there is like a cool thing that made me feel like a ranger. The story beat is the scene immediately following when I'm cleansed of when I was cleansed of the Chimera's influence, and Marcia's like, get your fucking shit together. And that I had to like help lead the team to go fight. I think the lake was next, right? Wasn't it the lake right after that?
Yeah,
I think that moment where Peter and Alec decided in the moment, like, no, we need to be the Red Ranger. We've been the idea of the Red Ranger up until this point. We need to be the Red Ranger. So like that moment of like Marcia kind of shaking me, shaking some sense out of me as I just killed my friend, and like that movement, like kind of mirroring, like at least in my head, like Tommy going from being an evil Green Ranger into part of the team. That kind of bit made me feel very, very reminiscent of that. And then the cool thing was reloading my fist, fucking fighting Mordred 1v1 castle at the end of the show. Be like, let's fucking go. And
this is happening.
And beating his fucking ass. That was the other cool thing.
I feel like the moment, at least 3 moments where I can say I saw in like all of your faces of fuck yeah, we're Power Rangers. Obviously the very first morph, like everybody was so right there waiting for the full description of their Rangers morph and like relishing in that moment. The other was the first appearance of Schrodinger, where he did the I am an elder morphing grid wizard, and everybody just kind of like
the
turned
bell
their
has
heads,
been
like,
rung. All is me and I. And
there's the full team moment of everybody just kind of tilted their head to the left and then to the right, and we're like, we're gonna fuck this guy up if he says the wrong thing, right? That's exactly what we're all on the same page. And then the final fight against the Draconic Overlord, where everybody, we're not holding back not only because this is the greatest evil we've ever faced, this is the person who hurt Wally. This is the person who hurt Schrodinger, and we love and care about him. We want to protect him. He's one of ours. And that like deep connection, even with this other universe version of each other that was there was still that level of we are Rangers, and this is what Rangers do. This is how we fix this kind of scenario. I think those three moments in particular were really big. Like, oh, we're Rangers. We are Power Rangers. The next one is, what is something that you guys wanted to explore more, but just didn't have the chance to? Arctic Gardener, Shinwa Kage, the Dark Dimension, sneaking into the Draconic Overlord's castle, all of that. I wanted to do all of that so much. And the Necronites, having the Necronites be the new villains, that would have been awesome, but didn't get a chance to.
I think for Peter, it was, and maybe this was just because it just kind of fell through the cracks, but like where I unlocked it a different way. But like the fact that like technically Excalibur, at least when it was originally presented to me, like I needed to have all of the team's support to use that sword properly.
Yeah.
And that was something that we kind of either just glossed over and was like, he's actually, through defeating Mordred in the past, he now could use Excalibur to its full ability.
Oh, no. It was talked about, and it came down to the Peter's agreeance to lift the sword afterwards. All of the crystals on the sword on Excalibur glowed after the situation with Dior. And when Dior came back and he was like, brother, are you okay?
Yeah.
Everybody else's crystals on there glue, because if Dior could forgive him and loved him enough for that, then it became a Peter, do I deserve to lift this? Do I deserve to wield this? And it was just happened to be in that moment that you reached out for it, that it appeared.
Okay, then there we go. Never mind. I explored everything I wanted to explore. No, that's not true. But that's the thing. I think for now, I'll think of another one.
I know Schrodinger wanted to go to the barren wasteland planet and really make sure it was devoid.
Yeah, I just wanted to go there, maybe like throw like a candy bar, see if they fight to the death. I don't know. In terms of like actual stuff that I would have wanted to, I really just wanted to see Shinwa Kage. Like, I'm so sad we ran past that entire universe, and I'm like,
they jumped over their heads.
People are over there. No,
these guys are so cool.
No, we have to stay in the ice dimension. I don't know. I would have liked to explore a little bit more of Schrodinger's backstory, but like by the time I had gotten in and we got into that point where I'm like, we have so much to do. We do not have the time.
Yeah, things are already unwinding bad.
Yeah, I'm like, I do not have enough time to pity myself right now. So that's also part of the reason why, like, as the like quest progressed onward, he became a little less like tee funny haha and was like, okay, cool, just tell me what you guys need me to do, because I've never had to plan for this.
That's fair. I didn't have any story beat things, but I was planning something out mechanically for those last episode, like mid-battle, and I was trying to figure out how it would work with the Silver Ranger stuff, the amount of points I had left, because I still had like 3 or 4 of my Silver Ranger points, plus like the magic rolls and shit. Silver Ranger can summon any weapon, potentially, with their abilities. I was going to summon the Sword of Darkness, but the pre-Sword of Darkness version, the Zordon wielded one. I was trying to think of the mechanics of, like, how do I add up all these points to bring this sword that's on par with Excalibur and Caliburn and all this shit to help fight against the fucking evil Peter.
The Altarian Sentinel Blade, that would have been...
I had so much. I literally, if I could show you the breakdown on my notebook of like trying to figure this out mechanically to summon this fucking thing.
I think I've got it. I would have loved for that.
It just never came up. By the time I was like going to get back to my turn, it's like, oh, this is kind of wrapping up. It would be too much to just throw it in there now. We were kind of had him beat at that point. I think it was like the turn before the thing went off and blasted him.
Yeah. Javante, Brandon?
I'm self-indulgent enough that I will say something that I kept leaning into, and then after a little while was like, stop leaning into it because the fun is also happening outside of it. I want to continue with that. Is Dior being very socially awkward is also very down bad for everyone that does not fit the criteria of how he operates. Which is why not only was his crush our Blue Ranger, but he also majorly crushed on Nico for like the entire run of the series.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah, every time that he interacted with him, he was super blushy and like just stuttery, did not want to like, don't leave me alone with him, please. I don't know how to talk to people, kind of thing. And I really did want to lean into that a little bit more. But in equal measure, I'm just happy that it didn't have him that way because I like him this way. And again, fitting into my self-indulgence, so fully I wanted to have it where when we were world hopping, we pop into Fey Ranger and then we pop into more Phenomenal just to see how you would have me and Paige do shit.
Throw us in the
Jesus.
seat real quick. Just hurry up and reorder the screens.
Yeah. Just reorient it. It'll take like 3 seconds. We got this. Quick tech break.
I mean, we have had a lot of crossover ArcaKnights at Fey Ranger. I did kidnap Peter like not that long ago.
Yeah.
And More Phenomenal is set like X amount of years post ArcaKnights in a slightly different timeline, but still set X amount of years post ArcaKnights.
In other words, me and Javante don't want to stop playing ArcaKnights, so we added it
No,
into
never.
our own Power Ranger games.
No, never. We fully intended to continue this forever.
Marcia or Brandon.
So there are mechanical things and there are narrative things. The mechanical thing is, I wish I had more opportunities to do deception and infiltration things while unmorphed. Because that was like the secondary thing that I was leaning into other than alertness and insight. So this is the other mechanical thing that I'm glad we got to touch on a little bit, but I wanted that scene to be bigger, which is at the poetry slam where we learn that the renowned poet of Angel Grove is actually Corellian. I was like, I want to do a whole poem here, you guys. I want to write and read a whole poem for you. This is my
Yes.
job. I do this for a living. Please let me read a poem here. But I'm glad you restrained me because that would have been a hell of an episode otherwise. But narratively, there was a thing that I was actually kind of hoping on, but I didn't want to push it because this is my first time playing with Hammer, which is I felt like there would have been a really cool moment for Schrodinger to like reach out to Marcia and ask things, because this is the first time that Schrodinger would have seen Marcia before these things happened. And I felt like that would have been a really cool moment to be like, do you know that this is how bad the universe is gonna be? Because you are trusting this guy. Red Ranger is really not good. He's actually ruthless. This is why I'm picking on him. But it would have been weird for Marcia to make that scene before having learned everything about that timeline. But then when I learned it, I was like, really? You're not gonna ask me anything? You're not gonna talk to me on a one-on-one? You spent eternities in the future with just me to talk to, and now you're here and you're never gonna talk to me at all?
Because I didn't want to talk to you after that. I spent an eternity like talking to you.
Wow!
It's like spending all the time with your mom and then being
I
like,
already
"All right,
know
cool." It's
Mom's
like-
gonna yell at me. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna ask her.
I'm not even. Yeah, pretty much.
Fair.
Like,
I can see
I
that.
do admonish the missed opportunity, and I'm like, dang, should have. But at the same time, I'm like, it makes a little bit of sense of like, I don't really want to get attached to this version of you, because like if I fail, then like I'm just gonna watch my mom die like in a weird like other way.
Yeah.
So like I'm minimizing the amount of people I have to care about if this fucks up.
I mean, it was literally just Frankie for the longest time that Schrodinger cared about.
Frankie's fan
That's because
club.
he was like, yeah, I'm like, I know you're fine. Like everybody
Yeah,
else,
Frankie
I'm like,
spends all his time in the future just fighting Peter, so he's good.
yeah, you got this. I don't have to worry about you. The rest of y'all.
There was
What
one
did
you're
you
other...
make
saying you
lost
were-
the-
So you were saying you're attached to Frankie because he could die as many times as possible and it would have no stakes for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Most morbid, like Schrodinger has a lot he has to work through. All right.
Yeah.
There was one other
It'd be
story
like that.
beat that we had talked about that we never got to, but Frankie was gonna romance Nico. Like we
Yeah.
discussed that
Yeah.
behind the scenes. Like we were gonna like
Was
lead into
everybody
that.
gonna romance Nico?
Yeah.
Everyone was gonna try to romance Nico, except for maybe Alec. But even then, they already had their lovers quarrel as the Chimera, so he really got that out of him.
I was
early
into the
on.
Chimera. I wasn't into
Oh
it.
Christ.
Wow.
So leading up to our second to last question, and I'll leave this open for everyone else too. Is there any hope for a season 2 or crossover events with future Ranger teams?
I don't know, Arc, is there?
Is there?
Yeah,
Arc?
tales from the Cheshireverse, please.
Is there Arc?
I want to see more Megaforce suffering.
So the only way I would feel comfortable doing a season 2 is if I had all of you for season 2.
What do you think
bringing
we're
in
doing
another
with our free time?
My Monday, my second and fourth Monday of the month suck now. All right. So,
I would be okay with maybe bringing in one other person to fill the like yellow or blue, purple or orange.
Orange?
Purple.
Orange.
Somebody's taking
I'm
purple
already.
spot?
Wait, hold on, what the fuck? I just got here.
You know what? I'm still so used to you being the Phantom Ranger.
I could be both. I show up as both. There's another Schrodinger appears from a different dimension.
Oh God,
and it
no!
starts this shit all over
My
again.
God.
And then I get to mess with myself.
What I personally like, just for me, might be interesting. I don't know. It's up to the audience and up to y'all. Is honestly, I'd enjoy seeing us play a different Ranger team.
Yeah.
Because if I look at the ArcaKnights, like if I like just from my perspective, like we had our arcs. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. And maybe Arc, you have some devious plans in the background. I was like, I don't know where our story would go next as like the ArcaKnights, like that we had gotten to the point that we got at. We, you know, Dark Spectre's still kicking around out there, but like, I don't know where we'd go from there.
I think what it is that it's not so much that we want to do ArcaKnights again, because I think all of us are like, absolutely, we want to do Power Rangers. We love being with this like group. Not so much even the ArcaKnights team, but what the team was like as a group.
I mean, yeah, we played this group specifically for like a year and a half, almost 2
Yeah.
years. So
I was here for a little bit. I was here for like a few months.
I mean,
for like 6 months still.
You were here
Yes.
for
It's
over
like
6 months.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, I fully stated it in on Twitter, partially to make Paige cry. And I know that you don't check my Twitter anymore, but I said like one of the reasons I enjoyed playing this so much was that it gave me a challenge to myself to be a better DM by playing in games with people that I respect and admire.
Don't respect
So
me.
Yeah, I sent that post to Arc and was like, this motherfucker's trying to make me cry on Twitter.
no, like even if it's not ArcaKnights, doing another Power Rangers with this team feels correct, you know?
What about you, Brandon?
So I feel very similar to Javante. Like I already have like the ideal ways that this goes for us planned in my head, which is we play another Power Rangers team, and then we do like a 3-shot that is essentially just Super Sentai Strongest Battle, where 3 of us play ArcaKnights and 3 of us play whoever else was there, doing another thing. Because again, yeah, like I think the special sauce is not ArcaKnights, even though you did a lot of very beautiful world building. The special sauce is your world building and GMing and everybody's wonderful play. And I would trust us to do literally anything else.
Don't put that on me. You guys were an amazing cast. Like even Crimson, who unfortunately had to leave when they did for the situations that they had and everything that they were pursuing, we had an amazing cast. We had people who were willing to be vulnerable with each other as characters, who were able to share moments with each other mechanically and role play throughout it, and uplift each other in those like deep RP moments that arose in your own interactions. I'm not self-deprecating and saying, I was just here being the referee of
Yeah, don't you
everything.
deflect the compliment?
But
Don't you deflect the compliment? and try to
Accept
put it
the
back on another
compliment,
way?
Gridmaster.
Accept the compliment, Gridmaster.
but so much of it came from you guys feeling safe with each other, feeling comfortable with each other, and being creative with each other. That it wasn't just ArcaKnights, like you said, it was everybody who was involved that was doing and creating and building next to each other.
Yeah. So essentially what we're saying is you need to run another game with any team. In fact, we didn't ask
reasonable.
you this question. You asked us what teams you would run. What if you were to put everybody in ArcaKnights, every member of the ArcaKnights team, in a brand new team with a brand new theme? What would it be?
I might have already started working on that.
And here's what we do, because you said we potentially add one more person. We bring in Wife Light to play with all of us.
Yeah. They play Schrodinger this time. I'll do something else.
Let's go. So the idea that I had was we explored Angel Grove. We covered everywhere in the canonical map that comes with the Power Rangers TTRPG that is Angel Grove. We went through the industrial areas, we went through the forest, we went through the lake, we went to Area 52, we were at Ranger Point, we saw the juice bar, we did all of those things. One thing that I started working on was an idea of traversing the other planets, going to Miranoi, going to KO35, going to Eltar, going to these other planets out there that other Rangers have been on and we're working towards. And the idea being something is taking Rangers out of the universe. And this new team is investigating. This new team is going to those planets, trying to figure out what happened, maybe anointing new people on this planet for the time being. You are now the new guardians of this. We're here to teach you. We're here to instruct you, show you the way. But we only have so much time because now the Rangers of Miranoi are gone. Eltar has gone quiet. And this like planet bounding, almost Guardians of the Galaxy, but like a mentor level because of your guys' understanding, one, of the system, and two, of Power Rangers. What if you guys were the team that came in and set up the next team in a place because you're trying to figure out what happened to these other Rangers? And I think space is really awesome. And
I was like, space, put us in space.
Peter's been dying to do
ArcaKnights in
space.
space.
Put us in fucking space right now.
But
I am
definitely
down
have
for
been thinking
this.
about that.
I'm so down for that.
Put me in the game, coach.
I'm in.
Put me in the
I don't
game.
care what it is. I'm in.
Well, we know people's second and fourth Mondays are free now, so maybe there might be an announcement here in the near future about something.
Rangers
Who
ArcaKnights World
knows?
Tour.
Write a
The
note.
Knights Arca.
Just keep the event in my
We'll workshop it.
calendar
We'll
for the
workshop it.
next however many months.
I just want Wife Light in this game.
Hey, they said they're down in the chat. We got her.
I know. That's why I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm
let's
prefacing-
go.
We
I
got our
only
sixth
show up
ranger.
if Bestie shows up, my guy. In my contract.
Put it in my contract.
We don't have contracts.
I'm putting it in the
No.
contract I'm writing for
He's
myself.
all, I'm writing it right now.
Right. It just
Somebody
says
get
I
on
want them in the game.
this.
Hear me out, Ark. You make this, I give you 5 power-ups in the other thing.
May will still be stronger than me.
May will always be more powerful than you, and I have nothing. I can do nothing about it.
And the last question, which I felt was like really good to use as a wrap up for it, is what is something that you will take from the Ranger you played that now is a part of you?
Always have snacks on hand.
That's a good
No,
one.
That's not the lesson. Knocked over my fork.
I'm trying
Somebody else
to-
go. I deal with this.
I'm trying to remember the exact thing that was told to me.
Suffer.
I think it was you were yes, several times. I think it's you are better than the person you claim you are. Which is that stuck with me for a while.
You are greater than the good that you want to be.
Yes. That has been a constant now. And I want that tattooed.
I love that so much. Anybody else? It could be something that, like, mechanically as a player for the character you played, maybe it's something you want to put into another character in the future, or something that you realized about the character later on that definitely stuck out.
I think my lesson is it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to go at it alone, even though you may think you can do it. You shouldn't.
You really
Rely on
shouldn't.
others.
You got this with friends. You got this with friends.
Become God.
Oh god. I do think for me, I have really like grown really attached to the way that how Marcia played alertness and insight has kind of changed as the game progressed. And I do want to play with that more often in other games. The idea that you can be essentially very nosy, not because you don't trust people or you feel like you're constantly in danger, but because you always want to know what other people need. And
Like
find
that.
ways to be as helpful and productive for other people's lives as possible.
Reading people for ways to help them and not reading people for ways to help yourself.
Yeah.
I like that. Paige?
I have
Alec?
a narrative thing, or not necessarily a narrative thing, but like an overarching thing and then a mechanical thing. One, I just built Frankie for combat. I didn't put any stats in anything besides combat stats on Frankie's fucking sheet.
Sounds like a you problem.
But I felt like it didn't take away from any of the other stuff whatsoever. Even though I, could punch and atomize an enemy, I feel like the sheet was still built in a way that I was able to RP all of Frankie's trauma throughout the show. And then an above board thing. My pronouns changed like 3 times over the arc of this series. Still playing a very masculine character. So I just think the autonomy of that, of playing this super overly masculine character while myself pulling away from that, was kind of cool to see. Because like Frankie became a good example of what I would have liked masculinity to be in my life as I pulled away from it. So I just think that was a really good thing to explore over the over the last like 8 months.
Be able to punch things and atomize them. Masculine goals.
Masculine goals. If you ain't atomizing a tree when you hit it, you're not
What are
doing
you
it
fucking
right.
doing?
Yeah.
Destroy everything that rests in your vision. That's the lesson I learned today.
What about you, Alec?
I think the lesson, excuse me, the lesson I learned is kind of more from a DM perspective. Something I learned from you as being our GM was how to handle effectively a player going to the other side. Because that is a trope that, like, we all admit is fun to play with. You know what I mean? As players, it's fun to kind of go dark, to be, a bad, not necessarily even a baddie, but kind of like ride the line between good and evil. And I think something that you did really well as a game master was like guide me and the rest of the group into a natural conclusion where it didn't break the group. It made the group stronger, through that story arc, in my opinion. So that was just something kind of just from GM to GM that I learned from you, of how to really well handle a player, playing a villain or playing a darker character. And that's something that, that's kind of above the table and out of character, but that's just something that I think I'm one of the kind of big takeaways from the game. I think I'm going to have.
I'm never doing that again now. Thank you.
And you're dead to
me. And you complimented me. I'm never doing it now. Awesome.
That's between you and your therapist.
I
can't help you with that.
Two things for me taking away from ArcaKnights. One, don't be afraid to tell stories with people you don't know. And with that, there comes a level of trust, there comes a level of communication, all of those things. But for the most part, the only two people that were part of this project that I worked with before, and I had only worked with them on the same project, was Paige and Javante when we did the Coyote and Crow one shot for the Initiative Order.
One shot we did.
We did one shot together and built a wonderful friendship relationship that we have with one another. That when ArcaKnights came out and I was discussing it with the people at Initiative Order, I said the two people that I definitely want to be a part of this cast is Paige and Javante. Like everybody else, you can cast, you can put in there as you like or see fit, but I definitely want them a part of this because I enjoy working with them. I enjoy talking with them, building with them, creating with them.
Stop.
But also like the conversations I've had with Alec and Brandon about your characters and the arcs you wanted to go on and the things about your backgrounds you wanted to incorporate, all of those little things, being as comfortable as we were with communicating made me feel safe to present those harder topics in a Power Ranger setting for everybody's characters. And Hama, we were very brief in passing friends prior to you joining, and it became I want to fuck with Alec when I come in to guest star, and I was like, all right, let's do it. Absolutely. let's
as
keep
you
going.
do.
And then we sat down and we developed this story of Schrodinger and put everything together. And yes, you came on as a guest character. You were supposed to be there for the Necronites doing all their stuff, and then your timeline was fixed because the Dread Hollows were no longer a thing. None of that stuff would have happened. You threw that out the window and then became a permanent cast member from there forward.
Yep. I had assumed that you would give me like direction on when this is gonna be over, and I just kept showing up. So
no, I wanted it to be open. When we ended every episode, it was left open in the way for you to go, hey, I had a great time. It was awesome. Thank you for having me, kind of thing. Like, I wanted to make sure we ended with Schrodinger completing his goals that we would discuss before the sessions, and then leaving that opening.
So you're doing like monthlies, I'm doing dailies. I'm like, oh cool, I got like these are the goals for the session. Like this isn't gonna fix things. Like this is just a thing that I can do. Oh, I live here now.
This is my home.
Your strategy, keep in mind, your strategy relied on me actively telling you that I no longer wanted to play.
And then keeping story beats that you wanted to play in.
Yeah, so like I don't know what you want. Like I'm just here.
I successfully failed. We'll go with that.
Well, now we're doing like Common Rider things, and like it all of that spawned from you holding me at gunpoint and not giving me like a way out that I could clearly see. Not that I would have taken it anyway.
Like, yeah, we end the episode with Schrodinger standing in the power chamber, just kind of eating. He's like, yeah, they're all fighting the giant monster in Angel Grove, but I'm just here eating.
This is
why
I'm just living my day. There was a whole episode where you played me. You could have could have wrote me out if you wanted to.
You explicitly asked me not to for that episode.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You're like, please don't kill me. I want to come back.
I just wanted to be the Cat Ranger.
But the second thing, that a real big takeaway, real wonderful thing, is not allowing in the sense of like I had control over it, but you, the cast, allowing yourselves to be immersed in what I was creating and what I was presenting. There was, at no point did I feel that there was ever a rapid like, hey, I really don't want to go and do this thing over here. I don't want to participate in this story arc, or I don't want to continue this part of the story. Everyone collectively was like, no, this makes sense. Even though things kept building and building and building, everyone was willing to keep building alongside it as well, which I was very grateful for, because I like telling really big, stories where all of these things culminate to, here is the actual villain. Everything you've been facing up to this point wasn't actually the problem. Here's the problem. And now fix this problem, fight this problem, stop this problem, and come up with your own ways to do it, because I'm not going to just feed you the answer. I'm not just going to tell you this is how you defeat them. Every outcome that was positive for all of you came from your own creation, and I loved every minute of it.
We loved playing in it.
Hey, Power Rangers,
Oh,
it's morphin' time.
We adored playing in it.
I want to be a problem again.
Oh God.
We'll discuss. There might be announcements here in the near future.
So we play in space, but our theme is cowboy themed. And we just do space.
I run a cowboy, space cowboy bebop Rangers.
Cowboy Bebop Rangers, sadly.
So we're
so
literally
so now
Galaxy
we-
Rangers. Cool.
So now we know where Ashley's boyfriend comes from.
We visit the planet I left.
I play
the
Ashley's
Megaforce
boyfriend
people.
in this game. That's who I'll play.
Yeah, let's go.
I'll play my other character's Bo. Let's do it.
But with that, thank all of you, my cast, my friends, my companions, my fellow storytellers here gathered with me, all of the wonderful people here in chat, or those who will be watching the VOD on YouTube. Thank you all for joining us and being a part of this adventure, this story, this series, this Power Rangers actual play that we shared. We'll go around, have everybody tell you where you could find them on the internet, and we'll say our goodbyes, maybe only for a moment, for now. And we'll start with Alec.
Oh, hello everyone. I am Alec, or Alec the Bard, TTRPG content creator, professional ballroom dancer, not your real dad, showrunner of Tales of Novum, and I have been, and I will always be, Peter, the Red Dragon ArcaKnight Ranger.
Brandon.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for this wonderful opportunity to play with all of you, and to play for all of you. I am Brandon O'Brien. I'm a poet, writer, and game designer from Trinidad and Tobago, and I have been and will always be Marcia Ambrose, the Pink Fae ArcaKnight Ranger.
Javante.
Howdy, everyone. My name is Javante. I run and am in a lot of things. So bi-weekly Tuesdays, you can find me on Paige's channel, where I'm in their Tuesday Fae Rangers game as our Pink Ranger. You could then find me on, oh Lord, I'm in so many things, I keep forgetting. Weekly Sundays, you can also find me on Paige's channel, where I'm in the Daggerheart campaign. Bi-weekly Thursdays, including this Thursday, you can find me on my own channel, Eclipse 613, where I'm running a Changeling the Lost game, Nightmares and Fireflies. Our second episode comes out this Thursday. And Saturdays, you could find me over on Cyberpunk Red's channel, where I am in a Death in Space game on bi-weekly Saturdays. I'm in a lot of stuff. And then if you want to just play with me and not have it be streamed, I have my Nostalgia Bait, which we're currently doing Power Rangers More Phenomenal, but I'm also starting to do stuff for like Perfect Draw, because I finally had a story idea of how to do a Yu-Gi-Oh game. So if you want to be involved in that, let me know, and I will give you the Discord invite. I'm in too many things, but I have been and will always be Dior, the Black Cerberus ArcaKnight.
Hama.
Hello, it is I, Hama. I have been Schrodinger, your purple phantom Cheshire ArcaKnight purple ranger purple god. You could find me at Hamasamakun here on Twitch, as well as all other social media platforms. That's HamaSamakun. Over on Twitch is actually where I will be doing Content Riders. It is my own personal love letter to tokusatsu shows such as Kamen Rider. That is the biggest inspiration. It takes a little elements from Gates and Build and a handful of other shows, but it is set in a world where monster attacks are streamed right here to Twitch, and you as the audience get to support your favorite writer. You can catch literally my cast of Arc and Alec thus far, playing Content Riders Arclight and Bard, respectfully. In addition to that, you also get to see Wife Light Court as Content Rider Darklight, who has the power to kill Arc instantly.
Makes sense.
As well as everybody else who also has that power. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and if you liked stuff like Power Rangers, you will very much enjoy it. We already did one sort of impromptu episode, and it was probably some of the most fun I've had. That starred our lovely Arc in a bit of an origin episode. I don't know where that VOD went, but it's around.
We'll find it. We'll find it
somewhere out there. We'll do the first episode properly. It'll be fine. We'll have 2 writers this time.
Paige.
Hey everyone, I'm Paige, aka Pluto Cleric, all over the internet. I am a queer, trans woman, streamer, and game master on quests to run every game in the known universe. Currently on rotating Tuesdays, starting with tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern with the next episode of Death Was Easy, our Hades-inspired Monster of the Week game. And we left off as they arrived to Asphodel to be put to sleep immediately by an evil Hypnos that they're going to battle next episode. Rotating Tuesdays from that at 10 p.m. Eastern, we have Power Rangers Fairy Arcana Force. We're currently, Queen Titania has 2 of the 4 powers she needs to enter the realm, including kidnapping Peter Hentz from the ArcaKnights in a previous episode and draining all of his red energy.
Wait a fucking minute.
Don't you know who I think I am?
Starring both
Don't you know
Arc and Javante here as 2 of my 4 Rangers. And then on Sundays, every Sunday through like at least mid-June, early July, we play in a Daggerheart campaign called The Empire of Kato, starring Javante and a few other creators, where the Emperor was murdered in episode 1 and someone slipped the murder or something in episode 2. So there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes as they're getting ready for a tournament next episode. But there's some few other things in the pipeline, so just keep an eye on the socials, and that's all I have.
I have been and will forever continue to be your Gridmaster Arc or Arclight Court. You can find me all over the internet at Arclight Court. If there isn't an impromptu Hama Arc Power Hour or me being in Power Rangers Fairy Arcana Force, I'm streaming here Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, talking all things Power Rangers TTRPG, or Power Rangers in general, or comic books, or crossovers, and all those wonderful things. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for sharing your Mondays with us. Thank you for supporting our Rangers as they became as such, the Power Rangers ArcaKnights. Hopefully see you all again here soon. But if we don't, remember that if it's Monday, it's morphin' time. We'll see you all again in the future.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye!